Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Kyle.
Hello, Kyle.
Hello. You may notice I still have perpetual hat head, despite never wearing a hat. I don't know when that's going to stop. I don't know what length that goes away. Thank you all for being here. It's good to see everybody. We have 13 people already hanging out.
Damn.
We had an exciting day. We went grocery shopping.
Woo!
We cleaned our bedroom closet. And then I spent 2 hours attempting to open Adobe software, only to find out that I need Ricky to re-edit the podcast that he's working on, and he's out of town. So,
why'd you have to re-edit?
Eventful day. There's like a weird noise gate thing on yours and on the track of you and me, so that like it keeps cutting out over and over again.
Uh-oh.
In a weird way. So.
Not good.
So I was gonna put that up tomorrow morning, but it might be a little bit later. There's a new episode of Ricky's podcast, Metagame Show Host, about Survivor going up soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, how's your guys' days been? Has it been exciting? Been more eventful?
Are they cat ears?
I think I'm wearing the same shirt I wore yesterday. Pretty sure I had this on the show.
You only have like 4 shirts, and they're all Spider-Man.
That's fair. It's not inaccurate.
They don't look like cat ears to me.
What do you think they are? What are they in your head if they're not cat ears?
They look like fox, or like...
I mean, they all kind of look this, like, cartoon version of pointy animal ears are all basically the same thing. So I guess you could say it's whatever you want.
I think it's because they're too close.
Okay, look. This is a big mug from Buc-ee's, okay? It's very large. They let you fill it with soda when you buy it. I didn't do that. I use it for water. It's like... It's a lot of ounces. I don't remember how many.
50.
It's what it is. Stop asking about it. I wonder if it's the same person asking every time just to mess with me. Actually, I just haven't noticed.
I don't know. Oh, 64. Makes sense. You know what I was thinking about today?
What?
I was thinking about the trauma that we all went through when our teachers just decided...
And we're off.
When our teachers decided that instead of grading our homework themselves, we would just have to hand our written papers to another student for them to grade. Do you remember
that was, like, looking back on that, I get that so much.
Do you remember how awful that was? Like, when you're like, okay, I wrote this paper, no one's gonna see it, and then she's like, I'm not grading papers, you guys are all just grading each other, trade with the person next to you. And
that's like the equivalent of you and me going, patrons, give us your video ideas so we don't have to come up with them. It'll be a fun activity. It's the same thing as, like, the teacher's just gotta be like, I don't want to do this. Everybody just trade papers, go over them. That way you get to practice. I don't have to do the work.
Practice what?
Practice the same grading. They have to finding mistakes in other people's work is, I mean, arguably useful.
Okay, but
like just as useful as practicing it yourself.
Okay, but then there was always that one person who was like super mean, like Emily.
Well,
she wrote the best paper.
Problem is that high schoolers.
And then you had to trade with Emily, and then Emily's like, you didn't capitalize this. This period's wrong. I think this whole sentence should be removed, and also this word needs to go here. And you're like.
So weirdly, I think.
Fuck you, Emily. I didn't write it for you.
I think this probably is actually a great learning tactic for adults who are interested in learning the thing they're learning. But high schoolers don't want to be there and never want to learn anything that you're teaching them. So making them more... I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a teacher, but that won't work. It's just a nightmare.
I assume teachers are just tired, but...
No, yeah, absolutely. I don't blame teachers for doing it anymore. Like, looking back on it, I do not blame any of my teachers.
Xerox Hero says, now that was a legendary social experiment.
And Bella says it gives all classmates 100s. Yeah, I never tried to bend the rules with that, so I don't know what I wish I was more of a force of chaos in high school. I feel like I missed out on trying to push the boundaries of high school. No, I know.
You were just not a chaotic force.
I wasn't.
You were a calming stream in people's lives.
I want to try one of yours. We got mochi from H Mart today. Do other places have H Mart?
I think they probably all.
Man, that's loud. Sorry.
I think other places probably have.
It's an Asian market. I'm sure you guys have similar things.
Tassoth says high school's original Hunger Games. McCree sees something. McCree sees all. It's kind of his shtick.
I also got
Ephemeral also says, sorry, I was the Emily.
I got some tea. I got butterbeer tea that Allison got me for Christmas. That's great.
Huh. Ephemeral and Jen are both teachers. They're both science teachers.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there just...
Can you at least on stream pay attention to what's all over your face? Just for the one time.
Sorry.
Just it's right there in front of you. Just once.
I literally do the cartoon thing of just somehow smearing, like, chocolate across my face every time I eat it.
It's unbelievable.
I don't know how.
It's unbelievable.
Paying attention doesn't help. It still happens.
Like, it's fine.
I'm just a cartoon child, and I always have
It's definitely true. You get something, and you just sort of, like... And I'm like, did you look at your mouth when you were done eating? And you're like, what? What's wrong?
The roles you and I fill in each other's lives of being the adult for the other person are very strange. That because it's not just entirely one way or the other.
Right.
Because like
we take turns.
I'll be like, Allison, did you pick your clothes up off the floor? And you're like, no. And I'm like, should you have, since I asked you to? And like, we'll do that whole thing. And then you'll be like, you literally have your entire peanut butter sandwich on your face right now.
That's definitely true. We're a good balance. Okay, we've got people still talking about teaching and also my whatchamacallit, the trauma that I decided to bring up for all of us all over again.
So...
Well, wait, when that happened, were you like a nice grader or were you a mean grader?
I was an accurate grader. Thank you very much. So probably a mean one.
Okay.
Probably not one anybody wanted.
I drew hearts on your paper. If I ever got your paper, I just told you, like, I think this was really great. You did a good job explaining this. And then I drew hearts all over it. And then the teacher would be like, make sure you grade properly. And so then I would like...
I was compliant. I did what the government told me to do.
I didn't actually do... More than anything, I didn't do anything, and I like everything else in my life, it just stems from my problems with authority. I was like, there's no right way to write. They nailed this paper, unless it was a dumb boy. Which,
I did everything authority told me to do at all times, even to the detriment of my peers.
I never did it. I like, anytime anybody sent me their paper, I just, like, drew little, like, cute things all over it, and then, like, the one dumb boy who decided to, like, call me, what was it? Plump. Right, the one boy in class who thought it was like a cute idea to call me plump, I wrecked his paper. His paper was over. That was done. He was ruined. His writing career ended that day.
Okay, Nemeril says, I tried to find positive things to say, but people can't write, and I felt bad. That was actually me. Now that he said that, it's bringing memories back. People were so bad.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I just wasn't reading it. I was like, oh, so now I'm doing the work. Someone pay me a teacher's salary. Like, genuinely, I probably thought something like that. Because, again, snarky teenagers, that was my shtick. And everyone else's. Xerox here says, if people kept asking me to do their homework, I was the kid that would feed them the wrong answers. Well, at some point, they must have stopped asking you, right?
I think that was probably the point. That's probably the purpose of doing that. I ended up in, like, the advanced placement English classes at some point, though, and we weren't grading each other's papers in those. We were writing, like, 3 a week, but they were not being graded by us. They were being graded by our weird, like, pure distilled type A of a man teacher, who was this very small, entirely muscle and bone bald man that, like, got up and cycled to school every single day and then taught advanced senior high school English.
I feel bad for teachers and, like, simultaneously students. I feel bad for everyone involved because the school system is whack and I hate it. And the school system is whack and I hate it, and that's why I feel bad for teachers also.
Well, yeah,
I just feel bad for everyone involved. It's not their fault, but you can't expect every kid to act exactly the same way in the confines of how the school system is set up.
They don't.
I know.
No one expects that.
They get punished for it. Like, you just, like, there's one way to do it. or it's bad.
It's really weird because I've known students, and now and now I know those same students as teachers, so I don't know who to be against.
I don't even need to be angry. Jen and Ephemeral are truly just like bodying my spirit.
Yeah, they know. They do this for us. What are we gonna do?
I'm just saying they have taken my spirit and are rolling with it in chat, and therefore I feel very zen. I'm like zoned out. Like I've passed on the angry vibes.
So
warranted angry vibes, might I add.
Changing subject a bit.
Wow, fuck you. Okay, I guess.
But is Backdoor Productions here? Is he watching?
Doesn't look like it.
I posted that we were doing the show, and I was like, don't actually know what we're talking about yet, so what do you guys want us to talk about?
Uh-huh.
And we got some suggestions.
We did?
And Backdoor Productions just hit the one the one destruct button on me perfectly. You did nothing wrong. You just happened to
no.
He said, as a topic, I kind of want to know more about what the indie film scene is like.
Oh, Backdoor's here.
Okay, good. And, oh boy, could that be an entire episode? I wanted to ask if that's worth talking about, or if you don't want to do that for the whole episode.
It's already got you fired up. What are you talking about?
It was in text, and I was like, they asked about it, here we go.
Start us off.
I despise filmmakers.
Most people
and the film industry.
Backdoor, who puts in an unreasonable amount of work for the financial payoff, which is, I think, zero, for his editing and like compilation videos and watching watching all of our videos and listening to all our podcasts. I don't know what I was gonna say about this.
Well, he's great, and it was a good question. Thank you for asking. You just found the magic words.
My point was that Backdoor probably knows how you feel about filmmakers. Of all people.
The indie film scene is all the toxicity of actual Hollywood, but with people who don't realize they aren't even worth that.
Okay, but like, let's talk about, what do you think of like indie, like Dom Farah films?
That's not the indie film scene.
Well,
an individual guy making movies with his friends is just that. That's not an indie filmmaker the way that I've come to know them. And if I took you to a set that I'm thinking of, you would understand what I'm talking about as the difference. Me and Allison walked onto a set at one point before filming Skyvault because our producer was like, you guys should see how an actual set operates. And it was
awful.
It was mind-bendingly different from anything we had done before. I don't know if we've gone in like a whole lot of detail from like on a whole lot of the Skyvault specifics before or anything that we've done or
we've definitely
that
gone into
experience.
Detail on multiple platforms. I just don't know where.
I just never know which ones or which details.
Yeah, Skyvault was a miserable experience.
Xerox is asking what's the toxicity. So we come from this space where we have things we want to make, and the end result is we want this thing to exist and for other people to be able to watch it. And that is basically the driving force behind everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on a film set in a film industry production does not give a crap about what they're making, and they only care about the progression they can make within that industry. And as a result, you end up I never actually dealt with like the classic high school problems until I was on a film set. Film set feels like a high school with a bunch of adults. But they all act exactly the same way.
I think it feels much worse than high school.
And you've actually gone through high school, so I believe you.
You just didn't. You just like tuned
Being
out.
on a film set is what movies make high school look like.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why movie high schools feel so toxic, is because they just insert all the stuff they go through on a daily basis.
Could be. The biggest issues that
only just now occurred to me.
Biggest issues that we have on film sets are there is this mentality of everyone is so worried about standing out to be special and talented because it's a constant competition to make it, right? You're all trying to get on a big project at some point. So there's a constant need to impress the people who could potentially carry you. Mm-hmm. It's like a gambling game. Like you go, I'll take this project because there's a chance it might get picked up. It's got a good like no one's just taking jobs for the money at that point. It's definitely all about, I mean, they are taking jobs for money because they need to make a living, but you're trying to pick things that you think are going to, like, up you. So it's this constant, like, appeasement game of trying to get everyone who you think is going to benefit you on your side. But what happens with that is that when mistakes are made, they are magnified. They wouldn't really be that big of mistakes, except for the fact that people are so terrified to make those mistakes that it causes so much more drama and problems. Like, our props guy forgot that I told him that a character needed a specific gun. He tried to get me removed from the project.
Because no one will take the blame for anything.
Right. He was more willing. He wanted me off the project because I told him that this character needed this type of gun because I designed the character outfits and everything about that. And he straight up... And when I say he tried to get me removed from the project, I mean he went to Kyle's family and told them I was dominating his life. And then they were like, tell me how this makes sense. And so that's the kind of stuff and then later on the actual, like, filming day, they had forgotten a prop, and props blamed costume, and costume blamed lights, and lights blame...
It's really weird coming from us, because I assume the reason nobody wants to take the blame is because they will be punished, because nobody else wants to take the blame either. So if you're the stupid idiot that decides you're going to be the scapegoat, they'll take that, right? Like, they'll take it. Now, we were never going to do that.
No.
Because we don't come from that kind of mentality.
No!
And so, like, every single time I'd be like, hey, where is this prop? We need this prop right now. And everybody would be like, so-and-so has it. And I go talk to them and be like, so-and-so has it. And then they come back and be like, the first person has it. We're like, look, I don't care who forgot it. I just need it in my hand. I'm not going to fire you. Please just give me the necklace so that we can continue with this scene.
Yeah. No, it's the threat of failure and the desire for success is so unbalanced on a film set. Like, the toxicity is, like, unusually extreme because, well, one, I think because everyone has a bit of a diva mentality just in, like, I do props on a film set, or I do lights on a film set. So they all kind of match the same personality.
Because they all have to be the most important one there, no matter who they are.
Because you have to stand out.
Right.
I mean,
and this leads to my least favorite part. By the way, I'm seeing everybody's comments. I will get to them. I apologize for not reading them off right now. But there is my least favorite part of the entire thing is that everybody on that set definitely, like, had some kind of animosity toward us. I say everybody, sorry. If any, not that anybody who's on set is actually listening to me. There were definitely select people who were fine, and those people know who they are because I've made it clear that they were fine.
Like 10.
But
I can tell you their names.
There were so many people. I've never had somebody talk to me in a way like basically treat me like I was above them while definitely thinking of me as if I were below them. It was a very, very strange interaction.
It was awful.
Like, we showed up and they were like, what did they call us? They had, like, a word for us. The creators. Was it just creators?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, it was the kind of thing where, like, Allison would casually be like, oh, is there a chair around here? And then we would hear from a distance someone on a radio going, creator needs a chair, and then, like, all these PAs would run out with a chair, and we're like, I was just asking the question, thank you for doing that. But at the same time, the same person would then go and trash talk how well suited we were to even make this thing with everybody else, like, the second after they stopped talking to us. And we knew this because I brought Doormaster members in as PAs without letting everybody else on the crew know that they were, like, our close friends. So, because I heard, before we ever did this, Freddie Wong talked about this same thing on VGHS. Mm-hmm. And he was like, the only reason I knew this stuff happened is because my brother was in the cast. And so he would tell that stuff to me. And so when we were starting, I was like, just in case, we should have some Doormaster people just in the crew, so that if something does start falling apart from the inside, we know about it. Yeah. And that turned out to be incredibly important.
Yeah. There were... So, Ian and I got treated the worst on set out of anybody. And it's because they were really upset with the idea of multiple creators. Like, they could only listen to one person because in their mind, multiple people meant multiple problems, and no one was ever going to be on the same page. But what they didn't realize is that we all had individual parts within our creator role that made us the person to listen to for different things. It was just, what's it called when you give other people projects to do, like you?
Delegating.
Okay, yeah, sure. It was just delegated differently. So, like, costumes and props would often talk to me, and writing stuff would talk to Kyle, and, like, set design or whatever could talk to... Whatever. There was a bunch of different things, and it was me, Kyle, and Ian. And what was so weird was the dramatic difference between how they talked to Kyle and how they talked to me and Ian. So the way that this
how they talked to me, how they talked to you, and how they didn't know Ian was there.
Right. So for Kyle, he was deemed, like, main creator, which is crazy because he and Ian equally wrote that script, but he was deemed main creator, and with that title he was carried around and like it's very hard because it was definitely condescending, but it was like Kyle gets the cushy chair in the shaded spot closest to the screen and all of the women surrounding him at all time, which he didn't realize was like even happening, but it was definitely like the pretty women stand by Kyle, he gets next to the screen, he gets the big chair,
that part,
and he gets the covering, and he has to be like closest. I do know what I'm talking about because the pretty girl got fired from our set for treating me like shit.
Well, the script supervisor, that's why she was there.
She was a pretty person. She's a supermodel. Her other job is modeling full-time and acting.
Sure. Just the way you phrased it made it sound like I had like models that were just on set hanging around for some reason, other just to be there for the sake of being there.
Literally. Right, okay,
Who else other than the script supervisor are you talking about?
All of the women that were just there. Like, there was you. It doesn't matter. Kyle didn't ask.
I don't remember this detail.
You wouldn't! You literally would not remember this detail. Name one other pretty person. Other than me. Go. Anybody.
I don't know.
A single person.
Probably other people. I don't know.
One name. One name of one woman who's also pretty.
It has to be a woman.
It has to be a woman!
Okay, I was going to go with Chris Hemsworth first.
Anyway, my point is Kyle would never have been able to identify this fact. So that's how Kyle was treated. And then there's how I was treated, which is for whatever reason I like walked onto set and they refused to acknowledge my individual persona. I was Kyle's wife, the creator's wife.
Right.
Or girlfriend. They actually just removed the wife title.
We weren't married yet.
We weren't married?
You were the fiancé. That's what you were being referred to as.
The fiancé. I wasn't even
though you had been involved, you were like there the whole time. We were giving them money. We
were paying them. So I was the fiancé, and this one chick was just super mad at my existence. So she told everybody that I was like, I don't know what things she made up. I never talked to her. I talked to her like once. I think I told her hair was nice, and she told everyone that I was controlling you and puppeting you, and I was interfering with the way that the script design was working or whatever.
We didn't know these
people. And
people.
I'm just like chilling there. I'm literally just like
we didn't meet these people until we showed up on set. We had met like the producer and the director of photography and like the main roles, but then they had then hired out the smaller position. So we didn't meet the person who was saying all these things until literally the day we showed up. She had no idea who we were. Like it wasn't. It was never even like there was never a connection enough to even start smack talking us, but they still were doing the weird. So like they did like treat me better, but it was like in a condescending way still.
And then,
like it was very like babying.
And then of course there was Ian, which is like people would come up and be like, "Hey, where do I put this thing, or where do you want the actors on set?" And I would go talk to Ian, and they would go, "Who?" And they walk up to Kyle and they'd be like, "Kyle, what do you want us to do with this?" And he's like, "I'm busy. Go talk to Ian." And they're like, "Who the fuck is Ian?" And then we just all look over. Ian, who's been in the same chair the whole time, every day, like, looks the exact same. We go, "That guy, for the millionth time. Ian, go ask Ian." And they're like, "Who? What does he do?"
We're talking about...
He wrote the damn show!
I would joke to Ian that I was just going to get him a t-shirt after the first day that just said, "I wrote Skyvault" on it really big.
I don't even think half the people on set knew the name of the show. Anyway, should we answer some of the questions?
Yeah. The only other thing I was gonna...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna... As another... The you talked about them, like, putting me in front of, like, the screen and stuff. That was the other part of it, is that they definitely wanted it to run the way that a Hollywood set runs.
Mm-hmm.
And we were coming in... So, I think the amount of money we came in with threw them off.
Yeah,
I think that was part of it. We came up with a relatively large amount of money. We probably were the most expensive project those people had worked on.
Yeah.
It was very small compared to, like, Hollywood money, but it was probably pretty big compared to Austin indie film money.
Yeah.
And we... So I think they had this idea of what it was going to be like, and like halfway through the first day, I was like, I can't do anything sitting from this chair. I don't trust you people. When this week ends, I'm out all of the money people gave me, but nothing happens to you guys. Like, I'm the one on the hook for this. So at some point I was like, I can't be here. I'm going to go down next to the camera operator, because that's how we do it when we're on set, is I go, if I'm not holding the camera, I'm standing next to the person holding the camera.
Kyle is the director, and on film sets, they actually don't even have the director there most of the time.
No, you're in like a
He's
chair.
In a different room. He could be in a different city, watching what the camera operator has on, like, a screen.
Basically just going, that was good, or change this, and then you let everybody else do it. Yeah. But I didn't trust everybody else to do what they were supposed to do fast enough, so I just started going down and hanging around in the mud with the actors and because I also had to give actor notes, and, like, I had to, like, tell somebody, and then they had to walkie-talkie it to somebody else who were with the actors, and then they had to it was just stupid. It was stupid, so I got up and I started directing over the camera guy's shoulder, and he was fine with it because he's cool, but everybody else hated that. They were not a fan of the way that went.
Yeah, it was a pretty horrible experience. Anyway, so just because I don't think chat got what I was trying to say, Kyle is incapable of identifying physical attractiveness in people without knowing them. Like, he can't tell the difference. You're like people blind.
I can identify, like, that is a very symmetrical and like attractive looking person based on the definitions of it. I just don't
barely do that.
I just don't go. It doesn't catch my attention as like, wow, that person's hot, because it doesn't really, whatever that emotion is doesn't trigger if I don't, like, know the person on a personal level first.
Right. Like, the reason I was saying that is because I was making the point of, like, Kyle cannot identify. Like, if you put Kyle in a room with supermodels, and then you were like, hey, you were in a room with supermodels, he'd be like, really?
I mean,
all of them?
If there was, like, a tall Amazonian woman, I would recognize that I'm, like, in a room with Wonder Woman, or, like, the people that I see on TV.
The supervisor was a 6'4" model.
Okay, but see, I hate her, so my memory is discolored.
Go answer these questions.
So I saw there was one. I'm gonna scroll back up and start answering you guys' questions now. So that was just everything unloaded at once based on the one thing Backdoor Productions asked half an hour ago.
Poor Backdoor.
So
he's already heard all
thank you for the question, Backdoor. A few people have asked, are we still doing Skyvault? And I haven't actually publicly announced anything about that yet, but we had. You find the questions. We had a big conversation with the Kickstarter backers, so we're all caught up with them. So if you're on the Kickstarter page, there's a link to a Discord. You've probably already found it, and we're all talking about it pretty regularly in there. I say regularly. We've all talked about it in there, and I answer questions whenever they come up. The current idea, because the concept of Skyvault is very big, and we tried the whole pilot and it didn't really work out all that well, is we're actually going to try and redirect it to being an animated thing. Which sounds like a big change, but I think it will actually I think it will be more feasible to do on our own, because we've basically sworn off Hollywood and the film industry, so we have to do it in-house. Something that size really works better with animation, especially with how fantastical it is, and it's something that I could feasibly afford, work on myself, get a few other people involved, and we still get to have our actors participate by doing the voices of the characters, the people that we did like.
This is actually a much better idea.
And I think it will pay off.
Thought about it before.
I do. I mean, there was, again, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I wish I had done that, but there's literally, the experience of doing it is the only thing that taught me how bad of an idea it was.
Right. I just laughed at Trips. So Trip, for whatever reason, has the most identifiable, like, little icon, because it's just, like, just an interesting green. And, like, it just, like, stands out to me.
It's just a T.
I know, but it's just, like, it's a solid color, so I can always find his comment, but it says, hey, we need this type of gun, not that type of gun. What are you trying to dominate my life? That's exactly what it felt like.
It was, though. People called you up for micromanaging all the time when it was like, that's literally our job. Our job is to micromanage you.
No. People did not call me out for micromanaging all the time. That isn't what happened.
Right.
This is the AIDS baby of the film industry. For whatever reason, this guy had such a fragile ego that me pointing out that I was definitely right on this one thing caused him to spiral to the point where he literally reached out to Kyle's
This same guy also contacted... This was actually... The reason all of this became as transparent as it did was because nobody knew how close we were to half the people on the crew.
Right.
Because the same guy contacted us at one point trying to tell us that Edwin was a bad pick for stunt coordinator. And we were like, we've known Edwin for, like, years. And you're wrong. We've seen what he can do. And he had his own suggestion of his own guy who was just, like, objectively worse of a choice.
A lot of people are talking about astrology.
Okay.
So it sounds like there was a whole conversation going on.
Well, I guess we can talk about something else then if this is...
No, it's okay. No, I don't think they thought it was not interesting.
Okay.
And then a bunch of people were telling you to say your mom when I told you to name one other pretty person in the world.
Oh.
Tripp said, if Kyle says Rachel, he's screwed. I was literally just say Rachel. That's why I'm like, one woman in your entire life. You couldn't even say Rachel?
I didn't have an answer ready to go, so I don't know.
Let's see. Okay, I think we
really
answered most questions.
If there's no emotional weight on anything, I have really bad, decision paralysis. So if you're like,
True.
Pick an option between these 150 things you don't care about, I'm like, just shoot me.
Let's see. Let's see. Well, so and Backdoor mentioned, like, for some reason just realizing Skyvault was technically indie. I think Skyvault was, like, true indie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think indie projects often have less money than what we even made.
Pretty significant.
I guess, like, big indie film studios or whatever, we just don't have any reference for.
The set that we were on before Skyvault that I mentioned was operating on a third of that budget.
Right.
And that was, like, the highest one that some of those people had been on before that.
Right. It's really weird. It felt like Skyvault was such a toxic place because we were so angry, but the reality was we had to fire people to keep Skyvault even remotely welcoming. Like, just even the tiniest bit. And we didn't want to fire somebody. When I told the producer that someone...
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, you can go ahead. I was just saying, we didn't even really fire anybody. There was the one guy who, like, tried to stage a coup, and so we told him, you can't be on set anymore.
We did say that. I did tell him he wasn't coming back.
And then there
we all
was,
agreed.
And then there was the script supervisor who we just complained to the producer about once we found out what she was doing, and our producer went and fired her on the spot after our 15-hour workday at 2 a.m.
Our producer was a shining beacon of light throughout the whole thing.
Krell said Kyle what in all caps, but I don't know which thing he's responding to. Oh, a coup on set.
Oh.
That's what if he was, like, going around telling people they should quit because this was going to, like, drag their careers down.
You know why that
happened? Their illustrious careers in the Austin film scene.
Do you know why he decided to do that? He fucked up. He fucked up a costume on set.
Which wasn't even a big deal.
Blamed me. I took credit, and then I fixed it.
No, we fixed it for him, and he got mad. That was like the reason. It was like he messed the thing was missing, and we were like, we're missing a belt, and we fixed the problem really fast.
Yep.
And he was upset about that.
He was
because he didn't get to be the one who did it right. I guess
I fixed it.
Yeah.
It was me.
We weren't even going to get onto him for it. Like, it wasn't even going to be a problem. It was the same. We do this on set all the time. We show up in the woods to film a D&D video, and we're like, oops, we're missing freaking batteries.
Yeah,
just go drive to Walmart.
There's been whole ass days where we just didn't film. I forgot to hit record. And then Kyle married me, so, like, the consequences are not that high. Like, just relax. Just chill. It's a belt. We've literally missed entire days worth of filming things because I didn't hit the button at the right time. The sound is just gone. Like, I can't even.
So anyway, that's what it's like being on an indie film set. And that's what it's like being on an indie film set when you're in charge. I don't know what it's like being the PA. Ricky does. We can get Ricky on.
Ricky was much more chill about it. He had way better of a time. There were not as many stakes.
It's actually probably way less stressful being the one in charge, or not being the one in charge. If you're not
100%.
if you're not the one going, my money's going to disappear soon, and if I don't get the footage I need, I'm screwed. It's probably a blast.
Trip says, so Allison is the personification of oops, forgot to hit the record meme. A little bit. Wandering Malaria says...
It just happens sometimes.
That sounds like a reward, not a consequence, Allison. That's what I'm saying. I literally fucked up like 80 times on set, and Kyle still married me. He just rewarded me for being there, honestly.
Well, our entire career is around figuring out how to make mistakes and shortcomings into the product so that you don't notice.
That's a good point.
The entirety of the guards themselves exists because me and Ian were like, how can we make a movie based only on what we have right now? And that's where it came from.
It was really wild. I haven't really experienced anything like... It was... I guess... So, we feel very wise and, like, our eyes are opened now after the experience, but during all of it, it was just as weird as it feels talking about it. Like, you guys hearing it, it was wild. Because, like, we don't think of people like that. We don't just assume that they're gonna... I was changed. Because Kyle and I were about to have a literal throwdown with his actual family over the most trivial thing I can think of. Skyvault potentially ruined our relationship and the rest of my life, as it was definitely going to be with Kyle. And we were about to have some serious problems. So it's like, it could have just been like, oh, that was annoying. And, like, I wish that had gone better. And, like, Ian he was so optimistic and kind and friendly the entire time on Skyvault. He was unfazed and laughed at all of the ridiculous, horrible things that happened. I was not. Not me. It was not good. My mere existence was a pain for people. My body existing in their space caused them to act like children. So
I am yeah. Okay, so a couple different thoughts. Ozum said Ian must have a good personality, a great sense of humor. The conclusion of our Survivor episode is Ian would be the most likely to win Survivor because he can just endure anything.
It's so true.
I'm talking about all of this stuff with coming up on 2.5, 3 years of like reflection now.
Yeah.
Skyvault definitely, like, I'm a different person today because of the week we spent on set for Skyvault. Like, it definitely marked a very significant change in my personality, in the goals that I had, in the work that I wanted to do. And it honestly, the hardest part about it is that it took a really long time for me to accept that it just sucked, that it was just traumatic. Because I didn't want to. I invested everything. Like, literally my entire career path felt like it went into that. So it took me 2 years to finally come to terms with the fact that, like, that was bad. Yeah. That was bad because I made mistakes, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was naive and uneducated. People took advantage of me. It ended up being bad. I was not happy the entire time I was doing it.
Yeah.
Because you always try to do that. There were some fun parts, but it was like, I wasn't happy while we were on Skyvault set. Other people were, and that's great. Ricky had a great time. I think Ian stayed positive. Yeah. I think Ian responds to... Ian has moments that remind me that he also was traumatized by Skyvault. We sent that one, there was like a screenshot of the group chat from Superstore that we found on Reddit, that it was literally like somebody trying to enter a group chat of the production, like the production conversation, and there was like an assistant producer or something responding like, this is a closed group chat, how did you get this information or something? And the person responded, I play Garrett. And I sent that to our group text as like a joke, and then Ian sends like this whole rant on like how angry he is and how it's like triggering all of this Skyvault stuff.
Because that was Ian.
Right, yeah.
That was Ian on set. People were like, he's like, hey, where should I go? And they're like, who are you? And he's like, I made it. I made the script. And they were like, oh... Okay.
And Emerald said, wow, all that crap happening in 1 week. Yeah, it was...
Trip
it
said
was the longest week of my life.
Trip said, wait, I kind of blanked out. How did Skyvault jeopardize your relationship? I criticized the prop guy, and he decided to call Kyle's family and tell them that I was micromanaging not only Skyvault, but also our relationship. And
my brother was also on the crew and was working with this guy.
Yeah.
And so he went through my brother and ended up affecting,
I wasn't going to name your brother. I wasn't going to out your brother like that.
No, it's not his fault at all. Like Reed being on set wasn't, like, a specific problem.
I'm going to strong disagree with that.
Okay.
Well, sorry, Reed's appearance on the set was not a problem. Reed was the one who decided to believe him, and then Reed went to your family.
I mean, this guy just went and started talking to people behind our backs.
Right.
And I only, like, specifically went to like, it got through to my family, which was the stupidest thing in the world. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a mess. Everybody except for the people we brought with us. Like Ian, Ricky, Reed, the Door Monster crew, and the actors we had picked out.
The actors are great. Still talk to them.
Actors were fantastic. And that's the other thing, too.
Jim is the best dude. He's so great.
There's this whole thing of, like, the crew always... I've heard filmmakers talk about how, like, annoying actors are all the time.
Yeah.
And now that I've worked, at least on, like, a small level... Like, celebrities are a different thing entirely. But, like, just talking to actors are so much better than the crew. I couldn't stand any of the crew. The actors were great.
They were awesome.
I had no problem with them.
Can they see just the shenanigans that exist behind us? Cat over there, dog and cat, they fight, whatever.
And somebody said, like, okay, so the Austin film scene is terrible or something. It's like, I do not think that's remotely limited to Austin. I think that was just the film industry in general. Austin is just a little offshoot of LA at this point, so... There
are careers and organizations that breed toxicity and that cater to people with power-tripping mentalities and that give people a sense of authority over other people's that they are completely unwarranted in having, and the film industry is definitely one of those. It perpetuates a type of person in toxicity and then rewards those things when they exist. So I can't imagine that any of them are different. No. Honestly, because the same thing has to happen.
I've heard other people say the same stories.
That being said, there were some really great people on that set, and it worries me because I don't know how far they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Because they're awesome. I mean, I say that. I think they're all happy with, like, what they do now, but there were some really great people that definitely carried the whole experience.
If you just have a trade, if you're just the camera operator or you're just the prop maker, I think you can have a perfectly fine, like, enjoyable career within the film industry. Like, if your desire is to, I just want to make this particular thing, I want to apply this particular craft, then there's jobs for you, and I think it probably isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah.
But, like, the direction we were coming into, I mean, it doesn't stop the fact that there was some really just, like, objectively toxic behavior going on throughout the entire film set, and that's just, like, that was just humans being terrible. So it has nothing to do with the job you were doing. But we did specifically have a lot of these problems because we came into it with the perspective of our own little film world bubble that we had made.
Yeah.
I was at the Art Institute, too, and I had just forgotten. Like, I had interacted with film students. Broke away from that because I didn't like it. Made our little YouTube channel, and then forgot over the years how annoying it was.
Yeah.
And then we re-entered into it and got hit really hard with it. And so that's why we are now doing only stuff by ourselves forever. Because I just don't want fame. Or, like, the things that people want out of the film industry anymore.
Yeah.
I definitely went through a period in my life where I thought I wanted that. But, like...
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot of lessons on that.
Because I always thought, like, I wanted the number to be bigger, but there's a certain point where, like, the number just gets big enough. I don't know what that point is, but, like, we're at almost 400,000 subscribers, and it's definitely past big enough for me. Like, I'm happy with the number of people who watch my stuff, and if it gets bigger, great, but, like...
I really struggle with this. So I hate all things like fame, influencer, that whole thing that goes along with, like, being loved on the internet. I hate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I really like it. But that's only because of like a pleasure center in the brain. It's not like an actual thing. It's like you do something and a bunch of people tell you that you're awesome. No one dislikes that. Right. I mean, not really.
But do you like the feeling of, like, the whole world is looking like you just need the attention, or do you like the interaction?
I like the interaction. That's why we do this.
Right, exactly. Because this is 40 people. I mean, it's a relatively small number compared to what other people get. But, but we enjoy talking to the people who are in the chat.
But that's because this feels real. Like, the thing about, like... So I debate starting, like, a TikTok or something where I talk about basically all the same things here, but, like, in small ranty forms. And the biggest thing is I can't deal with... I am exactly one way all the time. 2 ways. I'm 2 ways all the time. I'm either, like, hyper zen and, like, in the zone doing things that I love, or I'm angry about something, and that's it. And the thing about TikTok or other social media platforms, like, the reason our YouTube channel doesn't bother me is because we are literally acting. But then, like, vlogging, like, TikTok-style stuff, what I eat in a day, like, you put on this persona, your voice changes, your appearance changes, you do different things with, like, your body to get attention.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
you're performing.
But you're performing in a way that makes people convinced that you're like that.
Yeah.
And I don't have I don't have the like, vibe that you would need for, like, vlogging or TikTok or whatever, because it's not... There's a what is it? There's a recipe for it. What's the right word for recipe? There's a way to be to make those things work and succeed. And I resent that.
Like, yeah, like there's a required, like, there's an optimal method for being, in giant quotes, successful by the standard definition in those arenas, and
it's just like do it that way, this is how I talk to you. This is how I talk to chat. If I was gonna get on a TikTok, I would like calm my voice down and like put on a slightly different persona. And the thing about that is, if you are the product, you sell yourself, and you have to do that by manipulating the perception of you, because no one's actually that interesting. They're just not. Like, literally, like, even when you watch family vlogging channels or whatever, or vlogging channels in general, and someone's like, this is my trip to Schlitterbahn, and this is where I go to the fanciest mall in my state, and I do this, and it's like, that's not what their normal life looks like. Most of my time, I get up and I spend about 8 hours a day on my laptop doing who knows what. Maybe I shopped, maybe I watched 4 hours worth of YouTube videos, probably played a game, and then, like, cried about something.
I think
that's like 7 of the days, I'm sorry, that's like 6 of my 7 days of the week. But then you vlog something and people are like, wow, what an interesting life, you guys do this all the time. And I'm just like, I resent so much about it, but at the same time, I kind of want to do it anyway.
That's kind of what sort of helped me understand, like, no one's like that. Everyone, like, if you get up and you...
Oh.
The way you feel at the end of your day about, like, how little you got done, everyone feels that way. Literally everyone. Every single person you watch on YouTube that seems to be doing things every single day, everyone does the same crap every single day. No one is better than anybody else.
I think people are mad at this dot.
Oh, yeah, I also noticed and got mad at that dot a little bit earlier.
I can't even cover it. That made it worse. No. It's like the red laser on the cats.
I think even really early on, what I meant. What is that? Is that your phone?
My phone, yeah.
What I meant when I talked about when I wanted to be famous, I always wanted my work to be famous, not myself.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be well known. I never wanted to be a celebrity in the spotlight. I didn't want people watching me. I wanted them watching the thing that I made. And so that's always that. And I think it's easy to drift away from that, but I've definitely, like, reinforced that really hard in the last couple years. Like, I do not want to be popular, I just want people to like my things. That's it.
And that's why I have absolutely zero problems with the way the channel functions, because I do think that, because what you're selling is a product that you choose to make. It's sketches. You are not actually like that. None of us are actually like that. We're not pretending to actually be those characters for the love and admiration of people.
Right.
Right, like, the persona that people put on to be loved, whether it's awful and iconic because you're a sassy liar bitch person or whatever, or if you're just, like, David Dobrik, who just makes, like, big faces at things and send people's money or whatever, like, no one exists that way. And I hate classism.
So you just hate the idea that people think that that's the way other people exist.
I hate the whole thing. I hate the.
Because it makes you feel bad that you're failing in some way by not living up to that. That everybody else is being so much more successful than you because you see these little snippets of their life where it seems exciting and they do something new every day. I mean, I do the same thing watching people who are doing the things I want to do. You know, I pull open corridor videos and they always have these fun, exciting behind-the-scenes videos of the thing they're doing that week. But each one of those people is just living a regular life. Like every one of them is just a dude who wakes up and
Ephemeral says, sorry, Allison, I love you on the internet. That's so kind. But, like, this is we started this project because I liked the idea of talking to you guys, and I'm also the most active in the Discord channel, because I wouldn't be able, when I first joined and I realized Kyle had a Discord channel and a way to actually talk to people, and he was like, I never get on there. I don't like actually talking to anybody. I just about flipped my lid. I was like, you mean you have a Discord full of, at the time, 200 people who just want to talk to you because you exist, and you don't talk to them? And he's like, I just don't have time. And he's right. He actually literally just didn't have the time. But I jumped in the Discord, like, immediately. I couldn't deal with, like, people who are famous and never talk to anyone who likes...
I'm trying to, like ignore people or anything. I don't
think you are. I wouldn't say that because you do this. But, like, I think of other big influencers, celebrities, or whatever, and I'm like, do you ever talk? Do you ever talk to them? They all like you so much. Just say... anything.
I kind of feel the same. Like, I can't see anybody as anything other than myself anymore, which I think is great. I think it's a good thing. Like, I look at people who, like at one point, like, I've tried getting in touch with other YouTubers, and I used to get really frustrated that they would never respond to me, right? Yeah. And I started listening, and I listened to, like, Eddie Burback and Gus Johnson's podcast sometime, and they at one point they brought up, they were like, just casually to each other, they were like, how many emails do you have in your inbox? And they're like, I haven't read through them in, like, 2 months. And I was like, that makes sense. I also don't read any of my emails, and I'm upset that they're not reading mine. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. Some of you guys may have sent emails to me before, too, and I might not have seen them. It may have just gone through, because I don't think because I was depressed that day. I don't know.
Yourself.
No, I'm not defending myself. I'm using it as an example of everyone is like this.
Gotcha.
There was a couple questions I saw earlier that I wanted to answer, but I forgot which ones they were.
Allison, I actually feel that, Allison, doing digital classes, I feel like I have to put on a vlogger personality to try to keep up my... So just the existence of a camera on you changes the way that you present yourself. It's impossible to not.
Than doing a presentation in person, though?
What do you mean?
Like, she's talking about how she's having to put on this vlogger personality on online classes, but presumably she doesn't do the same thing when she's just in the classroom. Yeah. It's interesting that it, like, changes the context to such a degree that even if you're used to, like, public speaking, you end up putting on this weird sort of persona because there's a camera involved, you know?
Right.
It's just interesting. I just hadn't thought about it that way before.
I think I just, like, deeply resent the idea of fame and not fame and people existing on, like, so far away from each other on the spectrum, and that the people who are famous perpetuate that. That's what I don't like. I literally do exist like every person. I'll get, like, messages occasionally on Discord or something, and they'll be like, oh my god, I love your sketches so much, and I think you guys are so amazing. It would make my day. I could make someone's day by being like, hey, that shouldn't exist. That's and I like that people care about us, and it means a lot. But the idea that, like, you're gonna run into me at the supermarket, and I'm probably not gonna be able to afford my groceries. Like, and then I will be in class with you. Like, there's no difference.
Here's a clearer description. If we run into you on the street, we will be as excited to see you as you are to see us.
Right.
Like, if we've talked to you, like, in chat or in Discord or something, and you're like, I'm so-and-so, we're like, oh, holy crap, you're, like, famous.
I've done this before. I remember when I met Corrupted Muse, I nearly fainted.
Right.
We met Corrupted Muse at a fan meetup in Rhode Island, and I was like, oh my god, you're Muse. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. And he's like, I don't understand what's happening. And that's why it's weird to me, because, like, to be so far removed, like, that, like, you wouldn't be excited that someone is excited to see you.
Right.
I just can't do it. I can't deal with this separation.
I actually did. I stopped listening. The first people that I started following on the internet was Film Cow. It was Jason Steele, the guy that made the Charlie the Unicorn series.
Yeah.
I used to listen. That was the first podcast I ever listened to. I listened to him and Robert Benfer, who made the Clay World series. They did a podcast together, and I would listen to that. And there was one episode where at one point Jason Steele very dismissively threw out that, like, it was really annoying when people would just send them emails saying, like, you guys are really cool or whatever. It'd be like that's not like what am I supposed to do with that email or something. Like, he just very, very brazenly just was like, it's like dismissed people just sending them compliments.
It's weird.
And I stopped listening.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to.
I don't think I've presented my points well because I don't know how to, but Jen seems to just get it, which is that if you want to know what I'm talking about, turn on a camera and attempt to talk about your life in a way that would be entertaining to other people. Like, attempt to actually convey your life in a way that you think would actually get people's attention. Like, try to explain something about your day that you feel is worth 5,000 people watching. And the way you're gonna change is gonna make you feel empty. Empty. Which is why I don't trust famous vloggers and shit. It's not you. And if you do it long enough, you're gonna think it's you. But it just can't be. No one's like that.
I think it's possible to have a separation of, like, this is the character, I'm jumping on here, I'm doing this presentation because I'm a performer.
But then be honest, because vlogs aren't like that, though. People think you're like that.
That's true. I guess it depends on who you're talking about. Like, I fully feel like, I don't feel like if you asked Drew Gooden, are you actually the way you are in your videos, he'd probably be like, no, I write them, and then I sit down and record them.
Yeah, I think he would say that.
But, like, I do believe, like beauty gurus 100% are trying to make it seem like they are that person 24/7 most of the time.
I mean, I think if you asked him, he would be like, no. But I also, I don't know. I'm definitely.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody needs to put a little asterisk disclaimer. I'm not really like this every single day on their videos.
I think they should. And you know why I think they should? This was actually a study done on Instagram that showed that Instagram was the worst app for young adults and teens' mental health. Why? Because people genuinely thought that Instagram was a true reflection of someone's life. But the only things you post on Instagram are excessively positive and outrageous, like things.
That's
like,
fair.
You never post that you're crying. You only ever post that you went to the Bahamas once. That's all you're posting about. And you're posting, like, I haven't been on a date with my boyfriend in 4 months. I'm only going to post the one date that we went on. So it was genuinely affecting people's mental health.
No, you're right.
To view people in a way that was unrealistic to their own life, because then they felt like they were failing to meet the criteria. So when people come on vlogs and they act like this one way, people go, what an amazing person for having that personality. I could literally never do that. And then it turns into this admiration cycle. That person gets bigger, more people do that. But that person is famous because that person wishes that they were just as good as them when they literally are. They just could be.
Well, and you're susceptible to it even if you know that it happens. Yeah. Because I still do. Again, like, I can watch behind-the-scenes videos from other people who do similar things to what I do and still feel that same sense of they're doing so much better than me kind of thing. Right. I'm much more conscious of it now, so it doesn't really happen anymore, and those same things can help motivate me, so I still will watch them. Yeah. But, like, I have to be actively thinking about the fact that, like, this is a very select thing. There's a very select view of their process. Right. Because I'll be sitting here getting frustrated every single day because I'm trying to do stuff on Blender, but I don't really know how to use Blender yet, and it's taking 3 times longer than I need it to. And in my head, I'm comparing myself to the people who throw out the 60-second tutorial on how they did this effect, and I have to literally remind myself, they didn't actually do it in 60 seconds, though. They spent the entire day on it, and then compressed it to 60 seconds. Right. But I have to, and I'm not stupid, but I have to tell myself that, because subconsciously I will just compare what I'm doing to the presentational version that I watched, you know?
Yeah. So I'm going through chat a little bit, and Doug says, I want to be famous, but I don't know if that's a toxic mindset. Like, maybe I just want to be acknowledged for something and not actually live the life of a famous person. Yeah. And I think it's good. I also think it's kind of the slippery slope, which is I just want people to appreciate the things that I'm good at doing, which is a totally reasonable and acceptable thing to feel. The problem is when 10 people isn't enough, and then 50 people aren't enough, and then 100 people aren't enough, and now 10,000 people aren't enough. And it's the not enough mentality, which I don't I'm really bad at, we've talked about this, like, I think we've talked about it multiple times, but, like, if someone's like, hey, I'll give you $500 now or $2,000 a week from now, I'm going to take $500 now because they just told me I was going to get it. So, like, anytime someone's like, I could have so much more, I'm like, what the fuck? You have more than me. You want to just chill on that thought?
My take was Doug that said that.
Yeah,
Doug Ratman.
Doug, who is Jordan.
Right, Doug, who is Jordan. You don't want to be famous, and you will realize that at some point.
Do.
No, you don't. You don't want to be famous, and at some point you will realize it. And if you're lucky, you'll realize it before you become famous. That's my take on it. I'm happy to discuss that further, but like that's my position on it. I don't think anybody actually wants to be famous. If you feel like you want fame, it's because you're seeing a version of it that isn't real, and that can be fulfilled through something else.
Yeah.
The thing that is missing that it feels like fame could fix, there's another way better solution to that problem somewhere.
Nemeril
and it might depend on you as a person and what it is that you feel like you actually need from that.
Nemeril says, I want to be valued enough to have a full-time job so I can afford a dog. Those are my big long-term plans. Same.
Yeah, fair.
It's just so weird. Drayon says, I just want to help you guys meet your potential, not necessarily the new heights of Hollywood, but even if you're just enjoying being what you are, I would like to see that. That's why our audience doesn't make any sense, because you guys aren't weird. You're not weird. You're not, like, excessively mean, and you just
very wholesome, supportive people.
Yeah.
Oh, this reminds me, we're coming up on time. We're technically on time right now, but I
haven't even gone through chat.
This just you can keep going through chat. We can go a little bit over. This is we can do whatever the hell we want. This reminds me, we had a conversation with the people that get us the sponsorships for our channel.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, so we don't really know what's going on. You guys have great views. Mm-hmm. And your interaction is actually higher than average, but your click-through rate is one of the lowest we've ever seen.
Right.
And I immediately was like, it's because our fans are just too, they're just not susceptible to this. Like all the people in the comments are like people are supportive.
Oh my god, Malik's been here for 5 minutes, but we keep just going
really?
On.
They're very supportive about it. They're like, oh, good job, guys, you got sponsorships. But no one's going to go get NordVPN because our fans are too, they're too smart.
They're too smart.
They're too skeptical.
Yeah.
They're too on the same page as us, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's why we're trying to readjust our like marketing strategy for that kind of thing, because I wouldn't get NordVPN through somebody's discount code.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I thought any of the people I've attracted to my videos would.
I remember, now that Matt's here, I'm gonna out Matt. Because Matt was on TikTok and he was making TikToks.
I just saw his comment, sorry.
Yeah. Matt was on TikTok, and I was, like, exploring TikTok. And so I wanted to start making them, and I remember I was like, how do I make TikToks? Because he makes them, and they're great. And I was like, how do I make TikToks? And he was like, you just gotta do the same thing everyone else is doing. And I was like, okay. And then I realized, like, half the things on TikTok, like the trends and stuff that go around, they're just lies. Like, you know the one where it, like, tells you which animal you look like?
Yeah.
You just pick.
Yeah.
You just pick it.
Obviously.
It doesn't tell you. You just pick the animal you want.
People don't rely on randomness to produce things. That doesn't...
There were so many things, and they were like, I was like, oh, so this is how I have to edit it. And then I was like, wait, now that I know how this works, people are just lying about this just happening to them or whatever. And Matt's like, yeah, that's the gig.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I physically cannot produce a single TikTok now. It's impossible. Matt's TikToks are not like
Matt said, I don't want to be famous, but it's not working. That's because of me. My goal is to make Matt famous against his will.
I agree.
And in exchange for myself and my own soul.
I think that's probably the biggest... We're much more interested in making everyone we know suffer from fame than we are getting there ourselves.
Yeah.
Easily. Matt's also got the most potential to be famous.
Backdoor said, wait, but Paradox should be the perfect sponsorship, right? Yes. Paradox is 100% the perfect sponsorship. That's pretty much all we want to do. If more game companies would just pay us to make videos about their games, we would love that, and it would work. Paradox keeps paying us because apparently it's worth it. Apparently the money they're paying us is worth what our videos do, because people who watch it actually do want the games, right? It's a thing they want. They can tell we're into it. It doesn't feel like this weird, like, and now that we're done, let's talk about this completely unrelated product that neither of us care about.
It's so what did Ursa says, I want to be famous in a very niche group of people, like people who love and study lichens? Lichens? What is this? What is this word?
Lichen is like a, it's like a...
Is that like a sea sponge?
No, it's like moss and stuff, right? Isn't that like like mold, or is that a different thing? I forget what lichen encompasses, but it's like a specific type of organism.
Anyway, my point is, I absolutely feel that. The things I would want to be famous for are not even close to Door Monster related shit.
Honestly?
I want everyone to know how good of a photographer I am. I know 33 of you already do, obviously, that's why you're here. But I fucking wish people knew how goddamn talented I was in the things I do that aren't Door Monster. My earrings that I make are phenomenal. I'm a really good artist, and my photography is bomb, and y'all don't even know that.
That's the better way to go, though. Like picking a really niche topic and being kind of famous in that. Yeah. Way better than trying to hit these like way more likely. 2, fulfilling enough, you can easily make like a living off of that. Yeah. And 3, you end up with I feel like that's kind of where we are. It's a weird niche. I don't really know if I could define what our niche is. Yeah. But it's and you have a bigger chance of getting bigger. Like Brian Brian from Solarian Community College does very well because he's a Magic the Gathering guy, and that's it, right? Like, Ollie Squire has been, like, ahead of us in subscribers since we met him because he does, like, one thing. He did War Thunder for a while and then kind of expanded it to other World War II themed things. But doing a niche thing is definitely more productive in the long run than, like, trying to just be famous for the sake of being famous. Allison has her entire display here ready to go.
Look at how good these are! I made all of these with a lot of money. This is so much money that I used to make and they're so good. They're so good. I just want people to know that they're good. Does anybody? No, I had 2 Etsy sells. To be fair, I don't update it, so don't go to it or anything. This is what I'm good at!
Go do it. Buy all of them so she has to figure out how to...
sketches because my husband writes them.
Make her figure out how to mail things through Etsy. Chat is now only talking about lichen. Chat is now only talking about lichens.
No, now they're talking about how bomb my earrings are. That's what's up. Anyway, thanks
Nemeral says, Allison, I will buy your earrings if they are ocean themed. And she's gone again. Doug Ratman says, in addition to the whole fame thing, I think about the quote that something like, you don't die as long as your name is still spoken, and I like that. If I must die, at least people will remember me. I understand where you're coming from.
Look at how cute these are. This is a shiny stone that you can't see. These are great. You can even tell me you don't like them, and I won't believe you. I love them.
What's your Etsy store?
Hang on.
I do legitimately understand where you're coming from on the like being remembered. I think maybe it's because of like movies and action heroes and superheroes and that whole mentality of like victories not being worth it if you aren't saving the world or doing something that's like monumentally impactful. It's taken me years to sort of like wean myself off of that mentality too. Yeah. But I'm old and wise enough to start figuring this out for myself, but I don't feel like I'm quite to the point where I can like give as meaningful of advice as I'd like to. I can only really say that like you'll learn that stops mattering eventually.
What are you talking about?
Doug was bringing up the fame thing again and was talking about how it's more of like he wants of like wanting to be remembered and not forgotten after being gone.
I think that's a great
point. I think that is something that drives that desire for a lot of people. But I think you find the fulfillment of that much like 1,000 times what you would expect to get it from fame by developing individual relationships. You get it from much smaller things. Like, I don't worry so much about being forgotten now because of you, your family, my friends, the people who I've made some kind of impact on through our small channel of 300,000 people. Like, it's still not small. It's a stupid number of people.
It's a stupid number of people.
Like, and even that is, like, beyond... So maybe it's meaningless that I'm saying this because I already have a platform, and maybe that just, invalidates everything that I'm saying. But I forget that part a lot, too. Like, it's the personal relationships that make that difference, and that really make it feel like your existence was worth it. And I know that the things that I've done will ripple out through people, even if they don't actively remember the fact that I originated something. The things I did affect people enough that they do things that affect people, and everything that you do every single day technically will ripple out forever, really.
I would argue that, not to be like, well, so one, Matt's comment is hilarious. Best place to be is strangers loving you while alienating your friends and family.
He also earlier said, I do not want to be remembered after I die.
I think, like, I don't really care about being remembered after I die. I just care about being missed when I die, but that's it. Like, I only care about being missed because I only want people to know that they liked me enough to miss me if I wasn't around. But I think that people don't remember dead people. Like, there are literal, they're, like, literal names, and, like, big civil rights movements, and then, like, I guess probably all of the presidents, except for the ones we don't remember. Like, there are some things,
right,
but,
okay,
like,
so...
But my point is, like, they're all gonna, they just go away. Like, they seem really big at the time, and, like, people will remember them, but they're just not gonna be, no one's gonna remember Mitch McConnell, no one's gonna remember Rush, no one's gonna remember AOC, like,
just depending on which version of this helps you more. There's the kind of, like, nice personal fulfilling version I just gave you, and then also, it won't work. No one will remember you because nobody remembers anyone. You will disappear into the sands of time just like every other person before you. So, seek out other things. Like, it isn't worth it. Everyone will be forgotten. The most impactful people in history probably are people we don't actually remember at all. Yeah. The people who have stuck around in the public consciousness are just ones that did that thing. Like, that was their accomplishment, is the fact that they got their name out there. But nobody remembers. Like, some of you are probably older than we are. But if you're our age or younger, do you know anything about Elvis? Marilyn Monroe, the presidents?
I was going to say, those people are 100% not remembered for things they want to be remembered for.
They're cartoons now.
If we died, the point isn't to be remembered for making sketch comedy. That's not the point. Like, that was never it. And so the people who are remembered are not remembered for anything that they'd want to be. Marilyn Monroe would probably be the most offended fucking person. She didn't deserve any of this shit. And I just genuinely think, like, you can only do your absolute best when you're alive, because I think after that it's just kind of like, your great-grandkids don't even know who you are. I don't know who my great-grandparents are.
This is people from the last 150 years that we're talking about right now. Like, and I still don't know, and never will know. Like, I know names and caricatures, but I don't know those people. No one remembers that. No one's around who knew them. You know, it's like the memory. What does the memory mean at that point if it's just your name?
So Matt is depressed. He is just saying things. Tell him you love him. It sounds like he needs it. Yep.
Matt, you're wonderful, and you will be missed after you die. You can't avoid it.
I don't know. I definitely get it. I just don't think fame is gonna help.
Yeah.
It's just not. I just don't think there's too. And at this point, there's too many famous people, dude. Too many.
Well, and fame is becoming more and more, like, meaningless.
I'm gonna say the one thing that I like about fame. The only thing I like about potentially being famous is that if something happened to me in a bad way, I could use clout or whatever to correct that wrong. Like, and I asked my mom about this because I was like, hey, if I ever get into trouble with police, and by trouble I mean I do nothing and they try to arrest me for no reason or beat me up or whatever, what happens? And she was like, well, you're lucky a little bit because she has some way in with the police, at least in the city that we're in. Otherwise, there's like, so my point is there's a little bit of comfort knowing that like if I got on Discord and vented about what I went through, people would care because they just care about me for no reason. I would have a number of people willing to give enough of a shit to make a little bit of a stink that the police might give an iota of attention to it. Because that's what I think is one of the worst things is when people just don't get the attention because no one knows who they are. But as soon as someone knows who you are, who that person is, the attention is there. And I think that's the only valuable thing, which is that consequences can be held when you care about people being mistreated.
But I think we've seen that you don't even need fame before the fact for that to happen. People will post that kind of stuff on TikTok and get eyes on it, even if they weren't previous. I think the openness of the internet and availability of communication takes care of that without having to have an established reputation. So like that still exists. Like the ability to do that is still out there. Yeah. It definitely helps if you have an existing, set of eyes on you, but I thought I had one more point before we closed out, but I've forgotten what it was now.
I can't tell what people are talking about because it's a combination of like moss and cult behavior and whatever Matt's spiraling.
Matt.
Just watching Matt kind of nosedive into a black hole,
I can't remember what I was going to say. I guess that's pretty much it for the day.
Yeah.
I guess we're at the end. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for always watching what we talk about. Thanks for liking us enough to come hang out and chat. It's been great, and it does. It's
cathartic.
It does make us feel good. Not to dismiss any of the attention that we do get. It's fantastic. I love that people like the things that I make, and I love that people find it
Jen has a word.
worthwhile to.
I'm gonna read the word for Jen. Give me that word.
Long pig. What?
Yeah, it's like this sausage.
Matt does really want a pig.
Why?
I don't know.
The cute ones or like the big ugly ones?
Probably the big ugly ones. Just making a wild guess.
I want the word. Emerald says, "Hi, glad I could hang. Sorry I've been missing the last many times." That's okay. I'm happy you're here. Matt says there are no ugly pigs. That is just a goddamn lie. Pigs are some of the ugliest things I've ever seen. I'm not one of them pick-me girls. I'm just going to tell you, pigs are ugly. Except for the cute ones, like the little baby ones.
Why did Google flag ancient Egyptians used lichen to fill the body cavity of mummies? why was that caught by the spam filter?
Wait, there's like so many words. Okay, all right.
I think it's that one.
Ephemera. Ephemera.
I'm pretty sure this one is ephemera. I don't know what it means, but I've heard the word.
So it's just an emphasis thing.
Yes.
Say it again. Ephemera?
Ephemera.
Ephemera. Why did I do that? Why did I say ephemera?
I don't know.
And you said ephemera.
Yeah.
Ephemera sounds like a really pretty name. Allison, you're not trying. I literally spelled out every single letter of the word. How much more do you want me to try? Am I supposed to know this word?
I've heard it spoken, but I don't know what it means at all. I actually have no idea what the definition of the word is. Mason Williams says this is the first time I actually show up to a stream live, and here I am talking about Lichen. Yeah, welcome aboard. Backdoor Production says, push the button, you never mispronounce anything again except emphasis. You have to pronounce that wrong.
No, I'm a quirky, cute, pretty protagonist girl because I can't say words well. That's why.
It's been fun, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow.
Just Jen said I spelled it wrong.
Maybe we should keep taking topic suggestions from Discord, probably, because that went over well this time. It takes
very little to trigger me, so you just gotta say like one word, and I'm like, boy, do I have something to say about that.
It takes a lot to make me go off on something, but if you do hit exactly the right point, I can do it forever.
There are definitely some trigger words for you, for sure.
Spider-Man, film industry, visual effects. Please explain in detail the visual effects process.
That one phrase is incredibly triggering.
I could go off on stuff I think is cool about visual effects forever, but no one will think it's interesting.
My earrings are exclusively like celestial and cottagecore style earrings, so I should have pigs.
Ah, ephemeral, lasting for a very short time. I like it. I will name the episode that.
There's no I there. Ephemeral.
I think she misspelled that one.
Again? Come on, Jen.
Wow, okay. I'm going to turn this off before Allison gets angry at chat after the nice, wholesome talk we had. So thank you guys for tuning in.
I won't list my Etsy because I don't update it. I'm so sorry. I just wanted you to know that I was talented without having to suffer the consequences of letting people know that I was talented. Okay, thank you. Bye.
We'll be back tomorrow at 7.
Is it going
Everybody
yet?
have a good night.
I've already turned around.
See ya.
Bye.